serious, man. You cannot be serious.
All right. Right. Did you say goodbye to Wayne's leaving?
He never talks to me. Every single week. He does.
Well,
he just ignores
you're
me.
not important enough. Did
Obviously.
you
Yeah, no, I say goodbye, of course. Wayne's a legend, mate, and it's very good to see him.
Yeah, no, he's a busy man. He's got kids. He's got a brace of kids on the run, and his missus.
He might have to do the plums.
I think he's married. Is he married to the lass? Is what? Sue? Oh, well, his partner's having a child in a week.
Yep.
So he's on the run. He's got kids.
You might have to polish the plums again as well. You never know.
But hey, I tell you what, I denude the plums of hair.
I know why people do that, by the way. Do you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Yeah, because in the 90s, pornography became a lot more prominent in people's lives.
Yep.
And in pornography, they shave, basically. They shave the women and the man. And then due to the popularity, it began to take off in the straight community. And then I think a lot of people copied that. So I think that is the reason people do it today.
It's nothing to do with digital TV and 4K, and you can...
Probably. And it's also meant to be cleaner, in the sense of more hygienic, which is I think why they do it in the porn industry. But that's just my little observation there.
I wasn't going to get onto this right now, but seeing as this leads into it, have you seen this? Health experts are warning there's going to be a tsunami of throat cancer due to middle-aged people having oral sex.
Really?
Middle-aged?
Middle-aged. Well, I was going to ask you how old both you are. It says the oropharyngeal virus is up. The spread of it is up 260% in 2 decades from having oral sex. Now, I'm not sure if the women are getting it, throat cancer, from having oral sex with men, or the men. I'm not sure what the women can inject into a man by having oral sex with but I presume it
does
cuts
it apply
both
to women?
ways. What?
Does it apply to women?
Well, the study didn't say that. It just said
I think it's for men.
Health experts are warning a tsunami of throat cancers due to this oropharyngeal virus that is emitted through oral sex.
What were they surmising? What did they say is a preventative?
Not doing it, surely.
Perhaps.
Have we got an excuse now?
Putting a condom on your tongue.
Maybe
I don't know
is it from the plastic, from the latex or something?
You could use a plastic bag.
Well, hang on. Have a listen to this. What's that, Ivan?
Is it from the plastic? Is it from the latex?
The prophylactic?
Yeah, that's it.
No.
What, are you serious? It'd free from the jizz that comes out your dick. I'd reckon. Nothing to do with the fucking...
You know who got sick this way? Okay. Michael Douglas. He got throat cancer from licking all these Hollywood stars.
He accused his wife, what's her name?
Can't remember.
Catherine
Zeta-Jones, yeah.
Are they still together? I think they
might be.
Divorce. I thought
I think they're together
because of that. Are they
no,
still together?
they were at the F1.
There you go.
Yep, during the year. So there you go.
Well, I think the insinuation she gave to him, which she took, got the brace and Brits, rightly so.
But all the things that you put in your mouth and up your nose and things like that, their focus is on that thing.
Genitalia.
So I'm not speaking probably for any of us. I'm not sure if oral sex is still one of your go-to choices of matrimonial bliss, Ivan or Dickie or anyone you might come across. But I think maybe we're all pretty safe. Maybe we are, maybe we're not.
Maybe we're not.
We've got an excuse now anyway, at least. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you tell anyone that you got it?
Well, throat cancer, I think that's pretty serious, actually. But no, I don't know. I mean, I have heard this about. I mean, someone on Facebook said maybe it's got something to do with the vaccine, but I'm not sure that's the case. I think it's just this has been around a while, and I have no idea why it happens. But
anyhow,
there it is. Moving on.
Was going to be a lighter item I was going to get onto, but seeing as you mentioned, I don't know, what did we mention? Why had we get onto that? No, the plums. So while we're just on, we might as well now. The doc I spoke to, I didn't speak to the Doc Fordham. Doc is on furlough, on assignment somewhere, and he said no, he's very sorry, he can't come back till towards the end of the month.
Right.
We send him a boo-hoo emoji.
Yep.
So he's wished us well.
Yep.
And
he wasn't on that Etihad plane that was on Melbourne runway, was it, that was stuck for 12 hours.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
I didn't.
They interviewed a passenger that I found it funny. They interviewed a passenger to come off the plane, and he said, "Yeah, I thought we just hit a pothole in Melbourne."
Yeah, 12 hours they were on it?
12 hours they were
No,
stuck on.
that's
Yeah,
on the runway.
yeah.
On the plane.
Not sure on the plane. The plane was stuck on the runway for 12 hours. Yeah.
With people in it.
And michaelchristianmenswear.com. So he's got back to us, and there's been a run on the hats because this is becoming popular. I tell you, incidentally, you can watch this. You Cannot Be Serious. You can watch this on YouTube on the You Cannot Be Serious podcast. You can watch it on YouTube under the heading You Cannot Be Serious podcast. Is that right? So you can see you in person,
and
Ivan, and
you.
people can see if you do actually look like Ivan Milat.
At last.
I looked at a photo yesterday. I think, okay, I see a resemblance.
Yeah. And they can see you, Dickie. You might have to start getting makeup and have a shave or something. And also, of course, you can listen to it on the what's it called? Wherever you get your podcasts. So you can watch us or listen to us. So Michael Christian Menswear, he said there's been inundated. He's got some hats, some caps left, but he wanted me to give a shout out to Troy Beeston from Alfredton in Victoria. Alfredton. Not Alphington. Alfredton. I believe that's in Victoria. Troy Beeston from Alfredton. Geez, that's hard to say. Alfredton. And also Steph.
A man or a woman?
That's a very good question. I'm not sure.
Stephanie or
Stefano or from Youngtown in Tasmania. Both are long-time fans of the podcast. So Steph, I'm not sure if Steph is a man or if he was. He might have taken Wayne up on his idea of having his plums waxed. And if Steph is a woman, he might have taken Wayne up anyhow and she could have a minge waxed. Anyhow, so there you are. So there are a couple of shout-outs. And the hats are available at a premium price. Very, very...
is he doing other stuff like T-shirts and barbecue aprons?
He is doing T-shirts. I'm not sure...
Did you give the kids in the sweatshop a few days off over Christmas?
I know, they've worked right through.
Straight through.
Right through.
Fair enough, mate.
Yeah, no, there's no holidays. God,
in Bangladesh.
I don't even know what holidays are. And the doc says, don't do the shout-outs at the start. No one's interested. Wait till the end. But seeing as we did the fact that people are getting throat cancer from having oral sex, we thought we'd link that in with minor items. Now, I want to play you this. So... I have been on this for a couple of years now. I've been interviewed about it. And I went over my notes. This is almost word perfect from what I said, I think at the start of the year when I said to the man who used to sit there,
Don.
Yes, I said to him, the welcome to country, this is getting out of hand and we should actually, as a provocative line to him, I said we should actually boo it when we hear it or show our displeasure at being wound up by bullshit. So someone sent me this. I didn't see it, but I'm going to play this. This was a commentary on Sky News, and I'm not plagiarising it. I'm playing it and giving credit to the person who said this. But this is almost word perfect from what I said 18 months ago or have been saying. And and people have finally had enough of this because I just spoke to Wayne about the money that is being spent on this hoax, which is Welcome to Country. It's a hoax because people say it's a tradition that's been going on forever and ever. It's only just come to a head in the last 35, 40 years.
Yeah,
and it's a money. So I'm going to play you this. You have to put your headphones on. And this is courtesy of, now here we go. I think this should work here. So I'll just get my headphones on to make sure that I'm playing it. And this could have been taken off our podcast, which I don't mind. I'm very glad. So here we go.
Sky News host Liz Storer. Liz, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining me. Happy New Year. Here we go again. Now, look, I want to start our chat. I spoke earlier about the con job that is welcome to country ceremonies. We've now found out that almost $500,000 has been spent by government departments in the last 2 years.
We are funding this.
This is a problem. You and I are paying for it. We at home, we're all paying for this. It's a con job. It's a business transaction.
Well, what this is now is a class war, Danica. Like, out and out, just a class war, because especially after the referendum last year, we all know what the vast majority of Australians think about this.
We said that.
Voted no to all this divisive nonsense that actually means nothing and doesn't help anyone get ahead in life. So what we have now are the elites, the leaders, whatever you want to call them, whether it's in the corporate world, the sporting bodies, or our own governments, whether it's local, state or federal, forcing this down our throats regardless. So this is out and out a class war. And what I have been doing, and I encourage anybody else to join me, is letting out a small boo. Because like you, I flew to Perth and I had a stopover in Melbourne. So I had several different landings across the course of my holidays. And I just let out an audible groan or a small little boo, nothing too...
You didn't get a megaphone and announce it.
No, but it's like a ugh or a boo. And all I get are smiles, because what I want people to start doing now is do something about it, because we are the majority here. These elites, we outnumber them hundreds of thousands to one. We said no, they've ignored us. And so if you're not the audible kind of person, send an email to the person who organised the event that you attended. Whatever it is, take some action, because until these guys get enough pushback, as per the footy, which you showed a clip earlier in the show, people were just audibly booing, saying, we are not taking this anymore. We need to make it so people just drop this off their agendas for their meetings, their sporting arrangements, because they know it's wildly unpopular and it's actually become embarrassing, because the people have been so audible about saying, we don't like this, we don't want this, you guys are virtue signalling, we're not on board, and it's an entire nonsense.
I completely agree. And I almost feel like the tide is turning. You've got Melbourne Storm, you've got elders up in North Queensland saying it's now being abused. If they're saying it, then the rest of us should be listening to it. So, no, I completely agree with you. But look, let's move on, because Australian Open...
There you go.
That was a commentary on Sky News by that person. We on this podcast have been saying that, and people say, you're a racist, and it's nothing to do with racism. It is actually nothing to do with racism. Racism is about hate. We hate no one, but we are not going to be played by people out on a mission to fleece the public purse by this nonsense. I mentioned, I've just spoken to Wayne about this, about the money spent on it and the hoax that makes everyone feel embarrassed. We respect everyone in the country, and we certainly respect Indigenous people, but we're not going to be played by making us feel second-class citizens. And the ABC, what a disgraceful... I've said this to Wayne too. A disgraceful organisation. Our ABC, they went on and on. And New Year's Eve, I didn't see it, but someone said you should have seen it and make you vomit. It would. And
so how much does it cost the taxpayer?
$500,000 bucks.
We mentioned you can.
I think they're fans of the show.
You can get the website and have a look at how much each. It costs
ceremony.
$500,000 a year. $500,000 in 2 years to do Welcome to Countries, and that breaks down the Australian Institute of Sport, which Sue Stanley here is a founding member of. I think, aren't you? Oh yeah,
Sport Australia.
Is that the one that does it?
Australian Institute of Sport is the governing body of Australia. Sport.
Which one spends $50,000?
AIS, Australian Institute of Sport.
Not
AIS.
the one you're involved in. Right, so I'm missing my line. Not that it's got anything to do with so, but they spend 50 grand in 2 years doing it.
If it's so important, and gee, wow, it sounds like it is to some people, then the $36 billion that is sort of gifted to the Aboriginal community, why don't they take it out of their pay packet and do it themselves?
No, mate, it's just no, I can't. I still don't believe this, but it says the Victorian financial expenditure has gone up from $423 million to $747 million. Don't tell me Victoria gives $747 million to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders affairs, and we're still putting up with paying for Welcome to Country.
This government, we can't last for 2 more years before we change this Victorian government.
Anyhow, I just want to say, I said this last year, at the beginning of last year, and everyone jumped up and down, said it's a disgrace. And I think Tony Jones got us into me 3AW and browbeat me, didn't know what he was browbeating me over. And when I suggested to him that he couldn't agree with me even if he wanted to, because his employer would come down on him, and he said, "Oh well, I've never been told what to say." I actually didn't say that, Tony. I said they would frown on you for having that opinion or agreeing with me. So that's probably why you're not agreeing with me, unless you're sincere and believe that Welcome to Country is a very sensible thing to do and will play the community on a break and keep doing it. And it is ridiculous.
I think Sky are fans of the show. If you just listen to the rhetoric, they almost repeated every talking point you've made over this issue the last year and a half. But the interesting thing they did raise is the issue of class, because I do think this is a class issue, because it's upper middle class white people, I've noticed, that support this stupid Welcome to Country. It's a very small elite who, watch the ABC. They believe in this rubbish. And the majority of Australians don't, as the yes and no vote proved recently.
So I have said this before, and if you want a reason why I'm invested in this, you talk about social elites in the upper class. The man who used to sit there, Don, and the man who used to sit there, Mike Sheehan. Sheehan, Newman and Scott were taken to court for vilification for daring to discuss. I know people say, why do you go on about this? This is why I'm invested in it. We were taken to court and charged with vilification because we dared to discuss why Nicky Winmar lifted his jumper out at Victoria Park 35 years ago. Many at the ground thought it was because he was overweight and he wasn't pointing to his skin colour. The people who played with him and against him confirmed that. That was their opinion. At all times, Sheehan said that if Winmar says it was about his skin colour, then that's good enough for us. We conceded that. But the popular opinion was that it wasn't about his skin colour. And the AFL then jumped in and went and made a statue and put it up outside Optus Arena over in Perth. And the social elite person who ran the AFL, Gil McLachlan, decided that he would have a crack at 3 old white guys for vilification. Cost us $100,000, and then the man who took the photograph, Wayne Ludley, he lied, and we sued him for lying, and we got our costs back and our $100,000 back, only because we sued him because he is a liar.
Who paid his bill?
Exactly. He would have got it. I would suggest he got it pro bono or the AFL, and if that's why I'm invested in this. We had no intention of demeaning Nicky Winmar. It was just a topical discussion because the anniversary came up of him lifting his jumper, and it was a big deal. And the 2 boys that were on this, Sheehan and Scott, said they were at the game. I wasn't even at the game. They said that wasn't the opinion, the general popular consensus of why he did that, and we were discussing it. And as a consequence, the social elite McLachlan threw us under the bus, and that's why I'm invested in this. And
that's why it's a class issue.
Every time this comes up, and you sit and you watch it. And I hope people now start to hiss or but when the plane lands and you say you're landing in, it's just hiss or. And you think it's disrespectful. It's not. It's disrespectful for the people who live in this country. Everyone, no matter what your skin color, no matter where you come from.
Yep. You said it was embarrassing. So I went to the football with a couple of Aboriginal guys. It's embarrassing for the Aboriginal guys themselves. They knew what was coming. Yeah. I knew what was coming too. Obviously, everyone in the MCG knew
Everyone's
what was coming.
sick to death.
It is
even
just embarrassing from all sides. It's terrible.
And it's getting so you can't discuss it.
That woman, good on her. That's almost word perfect from what I've been doing this, and I take a belting from, but you wouldn't believe the number of people that support you, and not that I'm after being supported. It is just cringeworthy, and so that's
shout out to Mike too.
Well, that shows the value of pushing back too, because a year and a half later, after you first got in trouble for talking about it, now it's become essentially the popular opinion. Well, a lot of people agree with you, Sam, on this issue.
And why wouldn't you?
Of course,
because it's not disrespect. People don't like to have the wool pulled over their eyes or be played. We are being played. It's nothing to do with respect. Mm-hmm. We respect every.
Can I change the topic?
Please.
Sort of, only just. So a person said to me they live up in Kununurra, and they live up there for 6 months. The other 6 months they live down here to get away from the weather. Anyway, she was trying to top up her Telstra card with some more money. Anyway, she rang Telstra, waiting, gets on the phone, and it says, you're in the queue, it will be 15-minute wait. Anyway, 2 minutes later, another bit comes up on the phone, and it says, press 1 if you identify as Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander.
Yep.
So she'd been waiting a couple of minutes and thought, well, I'll press 1. So she pressed 1 straight away, straight through. And the lady said to her, what can we do for you? And she said, I'm just looking to top up my prepaid card. And she goes, okay, do you know about our dedicated Aboriginal line? And then, as it turns out, I've done a little bit of research, and there is a dedicated 1-800 telephone line for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders to circumvent Telstra. Jump the queue.
I'm so glad you brought this up, because I think you alerted me to this, and I spoke to Wayne about this earlier, but I didn't have that detail. I just said, if you ring Telstra and say you're a Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander, you can, and
be anyone.
Why doesn't anyone do it? Why doesn't everyone do it? But anyhow, so I'm very glad you've mentioned that. That's given it far more credibility or credence than I gave it. So you've confirmed.
There we go. That's a real thing.
And so if obviously there's no way to prove it. So if you just want to get through quickly, you can call this number.
We could press the number now, but no, let's not do that.
But why is that? Why do? Just so
I don't know.
DEI,
logically, why do people from Afghanistan or Serbians or Italians or indigenous people, why do they get
Iraqis
through while the rest of us wait in line? You'll go to a function, you'll go to a venue, you'll go to a film, and there'll be a queue for Caucasian people, and over here there'll be a queue for anyone that is not a skin colour's not white, and you go to what is that?
It's basically segregation. This is what it is, and it's left-wing people who are suggesting it. You know what I mean? That's what's incredible. They are suggesting essentially segregation, what amounts to segregation, and yet it's the far left that is the one who's recommending it. And this is the diversity, equity, and inclusion, which believes that any ethnic minority is superior to essentially white people, because that whole agenda is anti-white. It's anti-European people.
And you know who has turned the clock back? Has cancelled that almost overnight. That's the great Donald Trump. He says DEI is a thing of the past.
It is. 13 days to the great inauguration.
My God, there's so many things happening with Trump, isn't it? He's going to take Greenland.
Thing of the past. And we have
Canada
clowns that used
Panama
to beat me to death before I stopped replying to dung beetles, people like Mike Carlton and Peter Fitzsimons, who said Trump was an existential threat. Seriously.
You'd make a good ambassador, Sam. You know, Australian ambassador to...
A lambassador, perhaps.
A lambassador.
We'll get onto the lambassador. Sam Kekovich is a confidant of, has his, as they say in America, has his private cell phone number, not his cell, jail number. Mind you, the lawfare department in the Biden government tried to put him in jail, Trump, because of all the 87 charges he had. Can you tell me why someone hasn't assassinated or tried to assassinate Joe Biden yet? Can you tell me that?
They're just going to wait
the
out,
deep state like to keep him around.
Treacherous, walking,
Disaster
retarded corpse. He is a disgrace.
I think
why
Dracula
someone
has more life in him.
Got me
juiced
buggered.
up on goofballs.
You've had two cracks at trying to kill Trump. Why hasn't someone just taken...
He's just a puppet, mate. He hasn't been running anything, you know.
He's
just the figurehead.
Dealing in being treasonous at the minute. He is stopped.
You see, he's trying to basically stop the development of different... Because Trump's going to dig for oil and gas. And he's trying to place certain areas of American coastline and stuff, so Trump can't do this. And then Trump will have to go to Congress, or he'll have to get it through both houses to change this ruling.
He gave medals of honour, which would be worth they like tinsel. He gave medals of honour to Liz Cheney, who was a Republican who lied, who tampered with witnesses about the January 6 fracas. He gave George Soros, his son, George Soros a medal of freedom, who has single-handedly brought the financial structure in America down, and that had to be repaired because he contaminated it. And he gave Hillary Clinton, who is responsible for the greatest hoax and dishonest portrayal of what they said the Russia collusion case, not proven, not substantiated, a completely false made-up thing to try and keep Trump out of office. And he's given him...
No, it didn't work.
He's given him medals of recognition.
I thought it was the awards for the frequent flyers to Epstein Island, just by the amount of people that were getting up there. But George Soros is literally like Blofeld. He's like Dr. Evil from that comedy of Michael Myers. He is like an absolutely evil, nefarious character, and yet he's winning some award. He wasn't there, by the way. His son accepted it. He's too sick.
So hopefully he'll be really sick shortly. Yeah. Let's hope it's nothing trivial.
Canada. Canada.
Yeah, let's talk
the 51st state.
The Anschluss of Canada and Greenland and the Panama Canal. I think we want all three, don't we?
Well, Trump made a very good point. He said we might as well economically take over Canada.
Let's do it.
Because we give them $200 billion every year to prop up their bits and pieces.
Yep.
And the American military is at Canada's disposal. If something happens to Canada, America is straight in. So it might as well be.
And I understand the Panama Canal because the Americans built it, and obviously now they're being charged a fortune to using something they built. But what's the deal with Greenland? I mean, I don't quite understand. I mean, what's the geopolitical significance of Greenland?
I think he's got them on the run, Dickie. He's just saying anything, and they're pricking their ears up at anything he says. Because I said, shit, if you're not mentioned, you're safe, I reckon. And he said that he'll, if the hostages are not returned.
He's put Hamas on notice. Yeah. That's going to bring peace, all this.
So, as I say, no skin in the game. I keep saying this, no skin in the game with Palestine or Israel.
The other one.
If you turn on to Al Jazeera since October the 7th, 2023, so that's over a year, every day they say women and children are being killed by bombs that come from Israel.
That's true.
Well, shit, that's what happens in war. I don't know why that's a surprise to anyone. They're trying to bomb Israel. Israel just better at bombing Gaza. As I say, it's a disgrace. And one thing Trump will do, he will stop that somehow.
Good.
Yep. Good news.
And then everyone, whether they think he's whatever he is or not, is he anti-Semite or he's for Israel or what, people will eventually rejoice that their loved ones and children are not being killed.
He wants to do the same with Ukraine and Russia, of course. I mean, I remember that was one of the most interesting things about Trump is he said, people are dying. Russians are dying and Ukrainians are dying. I mean, they've killed just about every young man in Ukraine. They've run out of young Ukrainians to kill practically.
But it's hard to take America seriously, possibly for 2 weeks anyhow. Have you seen Jimmy Carter? Did you know Jimmy Carter had died?
He passed on.
Jimmy Carter, they have been going on for 2 weeks. He was the most hopeless president ever. It was worse than Obama. Not worse than Biden, but worse than Obama.
All right.
A lovely man, a humanitarian, did great work, a Christian man, built houses but as a president, he was an absolute disaster.
One term, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he brought in Reagan. You got to give him that. He mismanaged things so badly that Reagan
They've
came
been
in.
going on and on and on about it, and they're still going on about it. And
Reagan was all right.
no,
Reagan was great.
Reagan was
Reagan.
fantastic.
Reagan was fantastic.
Have you heard some of these stuff on YouTube?
Yeah, some of
his jokes.
Yes,
He is-
great.
He's a legend.
hilarious.
Well,
Like
he's
Bob Hawke.
Incredible.
an
Like
actor,
Bob.
you see.
Yeah, so he can deliver a line.
He can deliver.
Yeah.
So that's Jimmy. I said, if they could stop talking about Jimmy Carter being he's a great man.
I was a kid when Jimmy Carter was president. I would have been about 8 or something.
1982.
I have fond memories of Jimmy Carter
Yeah,
because, you know, it's the first
peanut
time you
farmer
notice.
from Plains.
He
in
seemed like a
Georgia.
nice guy, but I do realise now in retrospect that his policies were bad. But when you're a kid, you just think, oh, he's the president.
No, you're like this. So we'll get on to some Victorian politics. So you'll notice that there are. Isn't it strange how the vernacular changes? Power outages. This is a power shortage. They're called power outages these days. It's
Okay.
like the weather.
Oh, the
They
rain
have
bomb.
A rain event. Well,
Yeah,
buy
all the
some-
language has changed.
I'll
Have you
buy
noticed
some
this?
bucket.
Everything's
I'll buy
worse
some
than ever.
tickets
It's
to
all
a rain event. I go,
hysteria,
"Oh,
right?"
where is it? And they say rain activity. It's rain.
Yes.
So there's rain happening, and the weather is there's the power shortages because the grid can't keep up the what do you call it
The generators.
no the what do you call the subsidiary power what
Backup power, yeah.
oh Jesus, the alternate power, what do you
Oh
call
yeah,
that?
like wind and solar
Yes,
and all
but
that.
there's a word for
Renewables.
it. Thank
Oh,
you,
the
Dick.
ruinables.
Dickie. The renewables can't keep up with
course.
hot weather or cold weather because windmills and the wind farms don't turn those big blades quick enough, and solar doesn't work. So the Victorian government, there's power shortages and the prices are going up, and they're still not allowing you to use buy appliances that are powered by gas, natural gas.
correct. Yep.
So
not?
the fossil fuels. This is the Victorian government who've driven us into the ground and still driving us into the
It's
ground.
total insanity, Sam. But,
policy
why would
changes.
why would they basically ruin, people's lives and also raise the price of energy 3 or 4 times for Victorians over something that Australia's whole output towards whatever they're being.
It was less than 1%.
It's so minimal what we contribute globally to whatever
So
this
the
carbon dioxide.
pathetic hodgepodge of
Why would we destroy our economy for nothing?
the pathetic hodgepodge of elected morons who run this state after that cocksmack, Daniel Andrews and his government drove it into the ground, are still doing it.
And he's not good at
And,
driving, as we can
I'll
know.
tell you, just talk about patriotism. I'll get on to that in a minute.
was he driving or wasn't
I'll
he?
get on to that in a minute,
well,
Ivan.
a few
So
sauce.
talk about patriotism. Daniel Andrews and Jacinta Allen have never been to an Australia Day ceremony.
That's weird.
And they won't be going to this one.
Traitors, mate.
They're just not patriots. And
They love China, though. They'll go and listen to China and hang
it
out there.
appears they're not patriots. If you couldn't turn up, if you're the head of a state and you couldn't turn up to an Australia Day parade,
It seems mandatory that should happen.
I know.
so
Can you imagine that happening 40 years ago? You wouldn't go to an Australia Day parade if you were the premier.
Yep.
Only now under diversity, equity and inclusion can you get away with that nonsense.
I see Woolworths changed their tune on Australia Day.
Oh, they're back?
They're back
Back
with
in
all
the
the
fold.
merchandise.
Of course, because Ivan, people like us,
Yep.
and the people who are joining us have said this is. I noticed the doc said he likes the Indigenous flag flying above the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Fair enough.
I don't.
all right.
One flies
Okay.
above the Westgate Bridge here.
Yeah,
That's
it
fair
does.
enough. If you want to fair enough, but stop all the other nonsense about that. That is divisive in itself.
Yeah.
We are no one. People say, "What's that flag?" So that's someone else that used to be here. And so you sent me this thing in here. This was in your there
letterbox.
There it is.
That was in your letterbox.
It was.
What you had neglected to do, Ivan, you brought
Yes,
it in and said
I
you've
did.
been given a brochure.
Yes.
You had no idea what that brochure was about, did you?
No, no, I don't know.
You didn't read it.
Why did you bring it in?
Oh, I saw
See
it.
that
It says we've
QR
hit him.
code?
Yeah.
If you click on that,
Yeah.
it plays you the phone call that Daniel Andrews rang 000, and it says,
Yep.
"We have hit a cyclist." It doesn't say the cyclist hit us or drove into our car and T-boned us. It says, "We have hit a cyclist."
There you go.
And he said, here, 11 years after Daniel Andrews said in a police statement, "I want to make it clear, the cyclist hit our vehicle." Well, on the 000 broadcast to 000, when he rang in, he said, "We have hit a cyclist." Now, you might think that's pedantic. But
It's a big difference.
It's a hell of a difference between what he said about, he said, "Gee, a kid came out of the thing, has hit the side of our car, you better come down here quickly." So that is still going on.
It's a mission of guilt.
It's funny he had
it's
the
not-
forethought to sort of say we, not I.
Yeah, well, why we? Because was his wife driving? That was the rumour.
Yes,
And that she
yes.
was drunk. That was the other rumour. Of
Now-
course, it's unsubstantiated.
On the back of this is see, all these things are linked. On the back of this, I just told you that the Victorian government, there's going to be power outages because of wind farms and renewable energy not being up to scratch. They have said here, wait for this, they have now decided, they've said that as the temperatures soar due to climate change, you think I'll make this up? This is readily available on the news. Temperatures soar due to climate change. It's going to be responsible, climate change is going to be responsible for 72,000 additional crimes committed in Australia.
I saw that. I read that.
72,000.
That's
because of
1984, mate.
climate change. Now,
That's newspeak.
is that because the weather's getting hotter and people are going to break into stores to buy air conditioners, or is it because people are leaving foreign countries and coming here because it's too hot over there? And then I saw it said the temperature is the hottest it's been since some
That's just rubbish.
1954. And I said, "Oh, it's the hottest it's been since 1954. So you're meaning it was hotter in 1954?" Did anyone
realise?
fucking bang on about climate change in
And also,
1954?
Of course they didn't.
I mean, we all know from our own experience. I mean, we all lived through the 70s and 80s. There were times there where you would get temperatures between 35 and 40 for about 6 weeks of every day. I remember there were some summers
right. Yep.
where for about 6 weeks it was like 35 to 40. And we have not had that kind of temperature since 2000, since probably the mid-90s. So it's all lies. What they're doing is they know people are not going to go back and check the records. They're just hysteriorising the weather to push this lie of climate change to, again, control people, to raise the price of, energy, and what Sam says.
People, I'm sure, people won't listen to this if they don't like our opinions, and maybe they listen to us because they want to just confirm that they don't like us because of our opinions.
Just in
but,
case.
But the climate change is prolonged and extended by the mainstream media, who have a vested interest in either advertisers or have the social elites pushing this bullshit, electric vehicles and all that. And I watched an eminent sociologist, an eminent climate expert, who said he was addressing not just a handful of people, he was addressing a forum at a very swish lecture, and he said this is an absolute hoax, that we humans have increased the level of carbon dioxide, or have contributed to climate change. He said it is a hoax. It is changing, but it is nothing
naturally occurring
to do with us. If you have a look at all the crap that's being spewed into the world through volcanoes and natural disasters and bushfires, he said it is absolute nonsense.
There was a volcano in Indonesia last year or the year before, and it spewed out soot and ash for 4 days, and in that 4 days was the equivalent to 2 Australia's output in a year.
Volcanoes do more damage, for example, to the atmosphere than human beings do in a year. Yeah. You know, and I mean, Alan Jones said this very well one time on Q&A. I don't know how he got on there, but he just said, look, you know, and people who you talk to about this climate, they don't know what percentage of the atmosphere is carbon dioxide. And it's something very small. It's something like 0.035%, right? And then something of that, it's like something like 10 or 15% of that is what human beings are responsible for. So it's only like 15% of that tiny amount. And then if you look what Australia is responsible, we're 1%. So we're 1% of 0.03. Basically, it's nothing. It's a fart in the wind. And so the idea that we need to change our whole national energy infrastructure around essentially a fiction is a complete nonsense.
There's 2 other things I want to bring. Now, I want to be very careful about this in case people think we are condoning this behaviour or that we are on the side of people who have this political bent, because of course we're not. But a person who was on this podcast was summoned before the judiciary or court for giving a Nazi salute at a. Just tell me, because the reason I'm saying this, I'll tell you why I'm saying this. Just tell me what that scenario was, and please, we're not mentioning this because we're doubting whether this man should be in trouble or not, or because you're not allowed to do it. But what was the scenario there, please?
Damien Richardson, he's been a guest on this show, and he's somebody connected to the freedom movement and the anti-vax movement, and he's spoken at many rallies and stuff, and he's somebody who talks about freedom of speech and that kind of thing. And he was giving a talk, I think out in Rowville or someplace like that, and he was talking about the kind of things one can say. And at one stage he mentioned the fact that the Roman salute was now illegal. And then while he was talking about it, he said, "You can't do this. You can't talk about." For example, he spoke about the UK, the way you're not allowed to talk about certain things, and he said, "Oh, you're also not allowed to do this." And I'm obviously not going to do it now because we're.
No, but he put his arm out.
Yeah, he did. Be careful, Sam. Be careful.
I'm just saying, he put his arm out. To emulate the Nazi salute.
That's all he was doing. He wasn't doing a hail. He's not a Nazi, but he did mention it. And when he spoke about it, he did the gesture. And so what happened was somebody from the event had filmed it, and then it somehow ended up on the ABC. And there was some journalist at the ABC who had been sort of after, maybe not the ABC, it might have been another newspaper, but she'd sort of been after him. So they caused a media fracas, and then the police said they were investigating, and now they've charged him.
Anyhow, in case you think we're cutting Damien some slack, I could understand that he, just to give an example, so African Americans can use the N-word just in speech and in song, and they can do anything. But if a Caucasian mentions the N-word, you're in trouble. So this has nothing to do with giving the Hitler's salute, but he was pointing out the fact that you cannot do that, and actually did it to show that's what you can't.
That's
do.
what he did, yeah.
And he shouldn't have done it. So we don't condone it.
What was the outcome?
Well, we don't know at the moment. It's before the court.
The reason I brought this up is because in October last year, a police woman, a sergeant, she was at the academy, and she did it as well. And she got and the police. October last year.
Oh, can't be this year.
Yeah. 24.
Yeah, no, I hope.
This year's only 10 days old.
Hey?
Why would she do it?
Well, because she was
as a joke or something.
It's sort of as a joke. She was being barreled, and she said, "Oh, we're amongst Nazis here." I think, and she did it. And the police commissioner at the time, rightly so, said this is a disgrace and all that.
Yeah.
And the only reason I'm bringing this up is now, and this might be a precedent for Mr. Damien. is that the investigative authority of
For the police woman.
The internal investigation department have reviewed it all, and as I understand it, they are taking no further action. Not saying good on them and well done, but
she did it as a bit of a shit stir, a bit of a joke.
She did it. I've got a feeling along the same lines as what this bloke Damien was doing. So
and there are
all
comedians.
I'm saying is they have decided that this is sort of breaking news, I think. I'm told, someone told me this yesterday, that they are not going on with charging her or dismissing her, but they've given her a severe talking to.
Yep.
And if you need any more example of two people doing that, and it's not a good thing to do, you're dumber than a rock, so you shouldn't be doing it. And but
Mad Monday.
Two different scenarios to that. Now I hope people don't think we're on the side of people who do that. We're just reporting the facts, I think. Now finally, from me anyhow. Finally,
what do you got, Sam?
I know you'll think that this is xenophobic, which I think is disliking people from other countries.
All right, thank you.
I'm not xenophobic, and this is a fact that there's vigilante groups in some of the swankier suburbs in Melbourne are now starting to get private security, people like Monjon, to patrol their streets because youths of African appearance, there is plenty of youths of Caucasian appearance, but youths of African appearance have been prevalent in going in gangs with machetes and having no respect or fear of the law, breaking in daylight to places, the leafy suburbs on the coast around Brighton and Middle Park and Albert Park, and the police are either powerless or have no effect because these people have no fear of the police, or they know that if they go to court and get arrested, they'll be out on bail and they'll be slapped on the wrist, and in this live and let live city we live in. And this is what's happening. So police, private security people now are patrolling the property of those who wish to come to a hall, donate money, put it in a coffer, have a war chest to provide private security for people
suburbs.
to drive around at night in marked
It's like
cars.
having a private police force, essentially.
Yeah. And if you think I'm signalling out youths of African appearance, as I've said before, there is many other types of people doing it, but all the photographs you see are on the cameras, on the security cameras.
I have family and friends.
Well, unless they're blackening their face up and trying to disguise themselves with hoodies, and perhaps they're doing that, and perhaps I've maligned them. I remember when the RACV, or was it Vic Road, said that the majority of accidents on the Great Ocean Road were caused by Chinese drivers. Well, they said, wow, you can't say that. He said, we're just saying that's a fact.
That's the fact.
We love our Chinese citizens coming over here and driving left-hand drive cars.
Don't drive down
driving left-hand drive
drive down
and
the
right-hand drive cars when left-hand drive is the country, what they do, and they don't know the side of the road to be on and all that. We're just saying that is a statistical fact. We're not trying to ban them or doing. We're just saying if you are from another country and drive your car on the different side of the road, could you be careful when you go around U-bends on the Great Ocean Road, because sometimes you get disoriented.
Sometimes you get it wrong.
I mean, facts can't be racist, can they? You know what I mean? If that is the statistic, that's the statistic. So,
yeah, well, I got the shit kicked out of me for saying that, and then I drew the person who gave the shit kicked out of me. I drew his attention to the actual article, and it said that very report.
Yep.
And I said, I'm not saying it. I'm just reporting it.
Can we talk about
you mentioned leafy? You mentioned leafy suburbs. It's also on the flip side. It's on the western side as well, and they're banding together. And these are the migrants. These are the new migrants that have come over from from India and Sri Lanka and things like that. Now they're banding together because they don't have enough police in their areas like Werribee and things like that to stop the crime as well. So it's everywhere.
There you go.
There we go.
Go on, Dick. What? That's it.
Well, there's a situation in the UK. Elon Musk has been very critical of the UK government of late. Because obviously people in the United Kingdom have been arrested just for talking about the kind of things we talk about on this show. I mean, freedom of speech has become really under threat under the Starmer regime. And then, for whatever reason, Elon Musk has taken to
Starmer being the Prime Minister.
Starmer is the Prime Minister of the UK at the moment. He's a kind of lefty, he's brought up the issue of these grooming gangs, these Muslim and Pakistani grooming gangs that have been raping, English girls under the age of 18. In shocking ways for the last 25 years. It's something like 250,000 victims. And of course, Starmer was there before he was Prime Minister. He was there as a judge or a lawyer. He was covering it up. And so what Elon Musk has done is he's exposed this, because all the English people want is basically, after Brexit, is for mass immigration to be slowed or stopped, particularly from Muslim countries. And you're not even practically allowed to say that in the UK anymore without being arrested. So, and I think Musk has used his power, because obviously he's not an Englishman, so they can't get to him. And obviously he's one of the world's most powerful men, and he's able to point these things out. And he's done a whole campaign the last month. And it's brought on the Starmer government to the edge of...
The man Starmer, is he the man that... You've heard of Jimmy Savile?
Yep.
Jimmy Savile.
He was connected to Savile. Yep.
Jimmy Savile was a identity and a very great personality over there, and was a benefactor and did stuff and went around all the homes and orphanages,
big celebrity,
touching up.
Children.
He touched up 250 kids. He's nothing more than a practicing pedophile. Yep. And I think Mr. Starmer claimed him as a reasonable friend and turned a blind... I'm not sure if he turned a blind eye to it, but he
did sort of try bury it.
Jimmy, that was Jimmy, fated by all and sundry, and was nothing more than a dung beetle rolling up pieces of poo.
He did look very
back to his little house where he lived.
He looked like a very strange character, didn't he? I mean, I remember meeting him. I'd heard that rumor about him. You just look at him and he says, "There's something wrong with this."
Anyhow,
now hang on. The Lambassador.
Yeah.
The ad.
Yes, the Lambassador.
It's dropped last night.
What's going on there, mate?
It looks fantastic. Do you know it's 20 years since we've had the very first ad?
Wow.
And
I love Sam Kekovich.
I didn't know this was going to drop, so I'm sitting at home watching the TV. It is absolutely fantastic. The first little bit goes on about social media and how comments are just thrown out there. But what they've got is all the audience there, all the comments are being thrown from the stands, and it's just incredible, like what comes out of people's mouths. And you've got Ray Gunn, so you've got
Ray Gunn's there. Doing a dance?
Caricature of Ray Gunn doing a dance, and people are just piling on to her. It's just incredible. And I'm thinking, wow, what's this commercial? Is it an ABC commercial? Because it wouldn't let on. And then right at the very end, it's Kekovich, and he's standing there with a lamb cutlet over his head with the barbecue going. And it's absolutely hilarious.
On our podcast, and a friend of mine is speaking about you.
It is hilarious.
Special, is it?
I'm pretty proud of the fact that it's been going for 20 years.
I've just left Channel 9. I'm at the Four Seasons. Can you hear me all right? Because I'm in a...
Now, I've got the phone up to the microphone. Ivan, this is...
Yep.
Can we hear you? We can hear you, can't we?
G'day, Sam.
G'day, Sam.
They were just eulogising your great performance on the Lamb ad. Now, just tell us how it went.
How the lamb commercial winner has been received. Well, it's been received fantastically well.
Of course.
And the lamb commercials are about skewering the comments section and in with the cutlet section. Now, as you know, over the years, this ad has evolved. Our manifest modesty will preclude me elaborating in detail the exact magnitude of the success of this campaign. People in this... I'm having breakfast at the Four Seasons. They're all staring at me, thinking I'm insane. Sitting here on my own. But anyhow, And what the ad has effectively done is it's highlighted the cultural zeitgeist.
Diversity.
And the diversity and the spirit and the mood of Australia. You might recall some time ago we had COVID with the border restrictions.
Yes.
We had a mockery of that. Then we had the generational division. And now we've got the cutlets and comments situation. So the one pivotal defining moment in time is how we can all come together over a nice lamb, succulent, juicy barbecue full of lamb.
Fantastic.
And it highlights there's more that unites us than divides us. And if we realise all the crap in our world we can dismiss, then we can come back and recognise the wonderful things that made this country great. You know, the generosity of spirit, the sense of fair play, good humour, irreverence, satire,
fantastic.
All that sort of
I
stuff.
did mention that you were you even had the personal cell phone, we call it a mobile number, of the 47th President of the United States, and he greeted you with open arms when you went over there to do the lamb ad many years ago.
Indeed, Sam, your research is spot on as always, and might I say his inauguration is imminent on the 20th, and I just can't wait when he starts squaring the ledger. I've ticked off about 10 moves at the moment. I've got the FBI fair and square number 1. I've got Schumer Pelosi number 2. I've got the silly prosecutor who's intent and the judge who are pursuing the cash for comments. He'll be number 3. Rudd's looking for a one-bedroom apartment at the back of West Adelaide here somewhere. And the list goes on and on.
All right, mate, thanks very much for taking the call. I appreciate it, and we'll speak again.
Always a delight. It's an epiphany. See you later.
Good boy. So there he is.
I wonder what's for breakfast.
The man himself.
Be
lamb chops.
Lamb chops.
All right. Well, he had some very interesting things to say when he met Trump. I shouldn't speak about it.
Speak
He
out of
wants to
school.
speak about it.
Yeah.
I can tell you off air. He said the one person Trump met, a very important Australian, very very important Australian, that he thought was an absolute cockhead. So I won't. I'll tell you off air. And he said.
Should we put that in the comments, maybe?
In the comments.
How are the people
In
going
the
to
cutlet section. In the cutlet
I
section.
interviewed him out the back here for a thing I was doing on Channel 9 on the Sunday footy show before I got flicked. He said that he wouldn't mention the person on air. I'm not mentioning it, but I'll mention it off air. Right. Anyhow, thank you, boys, for coming in. And well, we might see you next week. We never know what's going on. So thank you for being here today.